Before your garden ever grows, something else is already watching. And how you respond says a lot, not just about your garden, but about how you choose to live alongside nature. Here at Buckeye Bloomstead, we believe something very simple. This land was wildlife's home long before it was ours. Squirrels, rabbits, deer, raccoons, they aren't bad. They're doing what animals do, looking for food, shelter, and safety. But that doesn't mean we have to sacrifice our gardens, patios, or outdoor spaces either. What does matter is how we choose to protect them. On this channel, we work very intentionally to do no harm. That means no poisons, no chemicals, and no solutions that create suffering, especially the kind that ripple outward and affect birds, pollinators, pets, and other wildlife we never intended to harm in the first place. Today's video is about thinking ahead, setting things up before problems arise, or correcting them gently when they do, so we can protect our spaces while still respecting the wildlife around us. Why humane matters. Pause and think a moment. Poisons don't just stop with one animal. A poisoned mouse can poison an owl. A poisoned insect can poison a frog. A poisoned bait can end up where a pet or child shouldn't be. That's why we take the position that deterrence is better than destruction. Most animals don't need to be harmed, they just need to be redirected. And once you understand how animals move, climb, jump, and explore, you can outthink them without ever hurting them. Before we dive in, let me ask you this. What animals do you deal with most where you live? Squirrels, deer, rabbits, raccoons? Drop it in the comments. Your answer may help someone else who's dealing with the same thing. So, you might be asking, where do you start? Would you be surprised if I said that you needed to think like a critter? It's a complete mindset shift for some. Most critter problems happen because we accidentally make things easy. Easy to climb, easy to jump onto, easy to grip, easy to land on. Animals are excellent problem solvers, but they're also efficient. If something feels unstable, slippery, awkward, or unpredictable, most animals will decide it's not worth the effort and move on. That's the foundation of humane deterrence. Let's talk about slick barriers that can stop animals from climbing. One of the most effective humane solutions is also one of the simplest: remove traction. Smooth surfaces. Wrapping the tops of fences, raised beds, or upright structures with smooth materials like metal flashing or PVC makes it difficult for animals to get a grip. No grip means no confidence. No confidence means they usually don't try again. Rolling PVC fence toppers. This is a method that's been used very successfully along fence lines. A strong cable is run between posts, and a section of PVC pipe is threaded over it. The pipe is free to spin. If an animal tries to climb or balance on it, the pipe rolls. No pain, no injury, just an "oh, never mind." This works well for squirrels, cats, raccoons, and even larger animals depending on fence height. PVC can be painted to blend in with your fence or garden structures, and it's also available in a range of colors. Most big box stores typically carry white, gray, and black, but we've found additional color options online, including through Amazon. I will provide links for them in the video description below, which will take you right to them. Choosing a color you like from the start can save the extra step of painting, which, over time, may chip or peel and need to be redone. It also makes adding a bit of flair, fun, and splash of color to your garden. Remember, the most important detail is the diameter. The pipe needs to be large enough that animals can't get a solid grip or hop over it. Ideally extending just slightly beyond the top edge of the fence, so there's no place for paws to gain traction. This same rolling concept can often be adapted to upright pallets, garden enclosures, or other structures where climbing becomes an issue, making it a versatile and wildlife-friendly solution. Tip: if small animals like mice and rats, especially mice, are a concern, pay close attention to the wire mesh or hardware cloth you use in your fence design. The openings need to be very small, small enough that mice can't simply squeeze through. While mice and rats may still attempt to climb, a properly installed PVC topper can prevent them from continuing up and over the fence. In situations where mice are especially persistent, using a lighter gauge PVC pipe can help. Because mice are so lightweight, a pipe that spins easily is more effective at preventing them from gaining traction or balance. take a moment to look at this photo. For now, ignore the size of the chain link fence itself, which would allow smaller animals like squirrels, mice, chipmunks, and rats to pass through, and focus only on the PVC pipe at the top. This is the same rolling concept we've been discussing, but here it's been adapted into a double pipe system, with one PVC pipe nested inside another. That design can be very effective. However, notice how the pipe is positioned slightly above the top edge of the fence. That gap could allow very small animals to slip underneath the pipe. If mice, chipmunks, or rats are a concern in your area, it's important to install the PVC close enough to the top of the fence so there's no space for them to crawl beneath it. Proper placement makes all the difference.
A quick word about pets. While these methods are designed to discourage wildlife without causing harm, household pets experience spaces differently. Dogs, cats, and even birds may interact with fences in ways wild animals do not. Always install barriers securely, avoid sharp edges, and consider your pet's size, behavior, and access before using rolling pipes or slick surfaces. Placement matters more than you think. Often the issue isn't the garden, it's what's near the garden. Animals are incredible jumpers. A fence placed next to a tree, railing, woodpile, or roofline becomes a launch pad. If possible, move planters away from vertical surfaces, keep pallets and trellises clear of nearby step-up points, trim branches that overhang garden areas. Sometimes a small adjustment makes a huge difference. Another method of discouraging animals is the use of scent deterrents. Gentle scent deterrents that are used thoughtfully. Many animals rely heavily on smell. Strong scents, when used responsibly, can be helpful deterrents. Some commonly used options include cinnamon, garlic, peppermint oil, cayenne, used carefully and reapplied after rain. These don't injure animals, they simply make an area less appealing. The goal is discouragement, not distress. And always consider, will this affect pollinators or other wildlife nearby? That question alone keeps you on the right path. And if you're interested in using scent-based solutions thoughtfully, we already have a full video that dives deeper into that approach. It's called Homemade Garden Elixirs for Organic Garden Care. And many of the elixirs we share there can also help gently discourage wildlife when used responsibly. I'll have the link to that video at the end of this one, along with access to a free PDF of our own garden elixir recipes, available at no cost for our viewers. If you enjoy practical, humane solutions that work with nature, that video is a great next watch. Before we move on, there's one important thing I want to pause and mention, especially for households with pets. While scent deterrents can be helpful for discouraging wildlife, they are not automatically safe for every animal. Dogs, cats, and even pet birds experience smells very differently than wildlife does. Some natural substances, especially when used too heavily or in concentrated forms, can irritate airways, eyes, or paws, and in some cases may cause stomach upset if licked or ingested. This is especially true with hot peppers or cayenne garlic-based sprays. Essential oils including peppermint. Not all essential oils are safe to use, let's say inside our homes, for example where our pets may be in close proximity to essential oils. Now we are talking about the use of scent deterrents outdoors, but it deserves mentioning that the use of some essential oils indoors may pose a risk to our beloved pets. Outdoors, however, they generally are not a threat to our pets, but always use them with caution. That's why here at Buckeye Bloomstead, we always encourage light use, thoughtful placement, and awareness of every animal sharing your space, not just the ones you're trying to deter. If you have pets that roam your yard, free-range birds, or visiting wildlife you want to protect, physical deterrents like barriers, placement changes, and fencing solutions are often the safest first choice. Humane gardening isn't just about avoiding poison. It's about making decisions that don't create unintended harm, especially for animals we care about most. I want to ask our viewers, are you more interested in prevention before planting or solutions once animals show up? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about why. Sometimes visibility matters, especially in a garden you enjoy spending time in. Lightweight hardware cloth, wire mesh, or bird netting can be
tucked behind pallet openings, secured to the backside of structures used temporarily during vulnerable growth stages. Done thoughtfully, these can protect without making your space feel like a fortress. Now we have talked about deterring small critters. What about deer? Deer deserve special consideration. Deer are beautiful and powerful. They don't respond to small deterrents the same way smaller animals do. For deer, height matters. Visual confusion can help. Motion and unpredictability are key. Tall fencing, angled barriers, or layered plantings are far more humane and effective than any chemical solution. And again, deterrence works best when installed before deer establish a habit. There's one more deer-related strategy I want to mention, because it's a great example of working with animal behavior instead of against it. Some gardeners use what's called a double fence system. Instead of one very tall fence, they install two fences, usually around 4 to 5 feet high, with several feet of space between them, often about 4 feet or so. What's interesting is that this isn't really about height. Deer are excellent jumpers. Clearing a single tall fence usually isn't the problem. The issue for deer is judging the landing. Deer don't see depth the same way we do. When they approach a double fence, they can't clearly tell how far they'd need to jump or where they would safely land if they tried. That uncertainty alone is often enough to make them hesitate, and in many cases decide it's just not worth the risk. They're cautious animals by nature. If they can't confidently assess a jump, they usually won't attempt it. What makes this approach appealing is that it doesn't rely on intimidation or harm. It simply removes the clear visual cue deer need to feel comfortable entering an area. Some gardeners even use lighter fencing materials for the inner fence, because it's the spacing, not brute strength, that does the work. Like most humane deterrents, this tends to work best when it's in place before deer become accustomed to feeding in the garden. Once a location becomes a known food source, deer can be more persistent. But as a preventative measure, this system has helped many gardeners protect their growing spaces while still allowing deer to move safely through the landscape. At Buckeye Bloomstead, we talk a lot about living with wildlife, not against it. And that doesn't mean letting animals take over your garden, your patio, or your hard work. It means understanding that conflict usually happens at the edges, where our needs and theirs overlap. Wildlife isn't targeting us personally. They're responding to opportunity. A garden is food, a patio is shelter, a planter is loose soil that smells interesting. When we approach these situations with curiosity instead of frustration, we start asking better questions. Why is this area appealing? What's making it easy to access? How can I gently change that? That shift alone leads to better, more lasting solutions. Why do humane solutions often work better long-term? One thing many gardeners discover over time is that aggressive solutions often create more problems, not fewer. Removing one animal doesn't stop another from taking its place. Using chemicals can disrupt entire food chains, and harsh deterrents can cause animals to panic, which increases risk for everyone. Humane solutions tend to work better because they don't rely on fear or pain. They rely on inconvenience, uncertainty, lack of reward. When an animal repeatedly encounters an area that feels unstable, awkward, or unrewarding, it usually moves on. Not because it was forced, but because it decided to. That's a powerful distinction. With any game plan in the garden, you want to design spaces that gently say, "Not here." So one of the most effective things you can do is design your space with intention from the start. What that might look like in practice. Let's take raised beds as an example. Raised beds with clean edges instead of ground-level planting can make a huge difference. We've found that raised beds not only make gardening easier, especially for anyone dealing with mobility or disability challenges, but they also make it far more manageable to protect plants from curious critters. Fencing raised beds is simpler. Adding insect cloth or netting is easier. Even dealing with insects that can quickly destroy a garden becomes more controlled when everything is contained in a defined space. Once we stopped in-ground gardening and switched to raised beds, we honestly wished we had done it years earlier. We started out building raised beds from wood, and over time we've been transitioning to Vigiga raised metal beds, which have worked exceptionally well for us. I'll include a link and discount code in the video description for anyone who's interested. We truly stand by them. Raised beds naturally discourage many climbing animals, especially when combined with thoughtful placement. Keeping beds and planters away from jump points and arranging patios without cozy hiding spots under furniture quietly changes how animals interact with the space. These choices don't scream, "Stay out." They simply say, "This isn't the easiest option." And animals, just like people, tend to choose the easiest path. When using any of these methods we have discussed, keep in mind that accepting a little loss as part of the balance comes with the territory. This part is important, and it's not always easy to talk about. Even with the best planning, nature will take something. A nibbled leaf, a missing tomato, a disturbed bed. Living with wildlife means accepting that perfection isn't the goal. Balance is. Many gardeners choose to plant a little extra, protect high-value crops more carefully, let less critical areas be shared. That mindset reduces stress and keeps gardening joyful, instead of turning it into a constant battle. Your garden doesn't have to be perfect. Don't sweat the imperfections. A garden should be something you enjoy, not something that adds pressure. For us, the garden brings a deep sense of peace. And I know that may sound simple, but there's nothing quite like watching a tomato plant form its first blooms, or seeing seeds we planted with our own hands finally break through the soil. Small signs of the abundance that's on its way. There's pride in that process. In knowing the food we grow for our family was nurtured by us, from seed to harvest. Gardening is more than a hobby. It's a valuable life skill. It offers a sense of security, especially in a world where so much feels uncertain. Not because we expect the worst, but because knowing how to grow food gives us options. It builds confidence. It reminds us that we can still provide for ourselves in meaningful ways. That connection, that quiet sense of purpose, is part of what makes gardening so rewarding. And in today's climate, knowing how to grow your own food is more valuable than ever. A garden can help offset the rising cost of groceries, reduce dependence on long supply chains, and provide fresh, nourishing food right outside your door. Even a small garden can make a difference. It's not about growing everything, it's about growing something. That knowledge stays with you. It can be passed down, shared, and used when it truly matters. And that makes gardening not just enjoyable, but empowering. And teaching the next generation how to coexist is important. Whether we realize it or not, how we garden teaches others, especially children, how to view wildlife. When they see us choose thoughtful solutions instead of harmful ones, they learn respect, responsibility, stewardship. They learn that humans don't have to dominate nature to thrive within it. That lesson matters. I'd love to hear from you. Have you found a way to protect your garden while still respecting the wildlife around you? Or is there an animal you struggle with but don't want to harm? Share your experience in the comments. These conversations help more people than you might realize. And if you found value in this video, we truly appreciate your support. Subscribing, leaving a comment, or ringing the notification bell lets YouTube know this kind of thoughtful, humane content matters, and it helps our videos reach others who care about gardening the same way you do. Every small action makes a difference, and it helps this channel continue to grow and share what we believe in. Gardening isn't just about what we grow, it's about how we choose to live on the land we're given. When we protect our spaces thoughtfully, without harm or chemicals, we're not just growing food, we're choosing balance, we're choosing responsibility, and we're choosing to leave the ecosystem intact for everything that depends on it. If this video resonated with you, please consider liking it and sharing it with someone who gardens the same way you do. And if you're new here, welcome. This is Buckeye Bloomstead, where we grow with intention, think before we act, and always try to do no harm. Until next time, garden gently.